Hi guys, I'm a Forester here with another Japanese sword video. In my last sword video you saw these same three swords that my father-in-law brought home from Japan after his service in World War II. Now I only showed you this high quality officer sword in that video, but today we're going to take a look at the other two swords. Now one reason I didn't mention these swords in my first video is that I've had some trouble researching them. As best as I can tell, these are NCO Shin Gunto swords that were made late in the war using inferior materials, probably due to scarcity of metal. Alright, let's take a look at the scabbard first. These are still in pretty good condition. I'll try to give you as good a view of it as I can. There's a look at the cross section at the end. It's not lined in any way that I can tell. This is basically made of leather, I believe, that's been lacquered to make it waterproof. And I'll try to give you a close-up of it. Still in pretty good condition. So it served its purpose by all means. Now the total length of this sword is about 1 inch longer than this officer's sword, but that's not due to the blade. The blades are about the same length. It's due to a about 1 inch longer handle. Now let's look at the handle in a little more detail. Okay, and you can tell that it's very simple. I thought at first it was made of wood that was wrapped in cord, but after inspecting it and listening to it, it looks like it might be made out of metal, possibly aluminum, wrapped in cord. It's held together by what appears to be a peg that's under the cord. Right there, there's a little bulge in the cord, I think you might be able to see. And that's what holds the handle together, I suspect. The hilt is very simply made and it's fairly loose. You know, this type of sword doesn't protect the soldier's hand very much at all. It's very simple with very few decorations, unlike that officer's sword. In fact, the only decorations that I've seen on it at all are these just below the hilt, and I'll try to give you a close-up. Right there, and as I rotate around you'll see some more decorations that are partly hidden by that clasp. I think you can see them right there. Now the blade is 26 inches long. I'll try to give you a close-up of it, but it's made, or at least appears to be made, from a cheaper grade metal. I'd bet that this is mass produced. There's no sign of a Hayman or any evidence of heat treating at all, and as a result the blade is very dull. And if you look closely you can see some nicks in the edge of the blade. I'm not going to do a paper cutting test on this one. Now there's one sword on the table that you haven't seen yet. It's the second Shin Gunto knife, and it has a much shorter blade than the other two, but let's look at it now because that blade is actually shorter than you might even imagine. Yeah, it was a casualty of war, you might say. The handle construction is very similar to the others, but that blade is very short. And I just suspect that it got broken off either in the war or after the war, after it was brought home. You know, children growing up in the 50s and 60s had a lot more freedom than they do nowadays. So I could see the sword being broken, maybe by a boy chopping into a tree or some such thing. But in any case, the steel didn't hold up to the test. So there you have it, two examples of the mass-produced soldier sword in contrast to the beautiful officer sword. I'll post a link to my review of the officer sword below. Y'all take care.